Have you ever stayed up until 2 a.m. scrolling through an endless feed of TikToks, YouTube, and Instagram posts of people you barely know or celebrities you will never meet or influencers posting what seems to be their dream life? And you found yourself comparing yourself to them and thinking to yourself, I have nothing. No dream job, no dream house, no dream person, no dream relationship. Well, a couple months ago, I could tell you that that was me. That was my nightly routine of just staying up until 2 a.m., scrolling forever. I was looking at my phone more than I was working a full-time job. And that was when I realized that I was officially chronically online. I really was just looking in and peeking in to other people's lives. And it felt like in the process, I lost my own. Hi everyone, my name is Erica and welcome to my channel, Erica's Everything. And here is my story of my relationship, my toxic relationship with social media. And just wanted to kind of tell my story as I pretty much broke up with social media for 3 months. And now I've come back into social media and I wanted to just share my thoughts with you on how that break was and just what my takeaways from that was. So just to paint the picture of the scene for you guys of where I was starting, I found myself in a nightly routine of looking at posts from people I barely knew or would never meet. And I found myself always watching social media and always watching the stories, the posts, everything while I was laying in bed at 2 a.m. I was being shared a glimpse into their lives that seemed to be perfectly captured to showcase their perfect and aesthetic life. While I was in bed, not feeling my best, tired, and definitely not being glamorous. And it was always at this time where I would compare my worst to someone else's best. And I took it in as my new reality of everyone is having fun, living their best life, while I'm stuck in my bed, scrolling and awake at 2 a.m. And it wasn't until I was confronted with my very high screen time that I decided to embark on this journey of breaking up with social media, where I had not posted at all and I just felt very unpresent in my own presence online, and I just felt very disconnected even from the people that I was following. So I decided to take a step back and I completely just ghosted. I feel like I was already a ghost to begin with on the platform as I wasn't posting at all. So I felt for me there were two big factors in this decision of me to break up with social media. One being the fact that I was spending way too much time on it. A huge portion of me being on my phone was to look at Instagram and TikTok. And I found myself not limiting my time on it, which is how it got so out of hand to begin with. And I think the second thing was the fact that I did not feel comfortable anymore on my own platform, where I did not feel comfortable sharing my most authentic self online. And I would feel nervous of their opinion of me being authentic online, to the point where I decided not to post anything at all. I also want to make a more in-depth video one day in the future about this topic, where I feel like social media has you thinking that you're doing more than you actually are. Like, I feel like social media has you doing less, but still making you think that you did more. We use up our own energy and attention watching other people when we should be using our energy and attention towards ourselves. So I feel like this video could come across as me bashing social media, and that would be really hypocritical of me because of the fact that I am on social media and I am actively using it. The only thing that I want this video to convey is to at least have you look at your relationship with social media and see if you need to create some boundaries with it. Because I know for me, I did not create boundaries with my social media and all of my free time was consumed by it. Me and social media are now back together. I think it's so funny that I'm trying to put it in terms of a relationship, but I feel like, yeah, we all have a relationship with social media and our phones in general. It's just something that we always constantly have and something that really does get our attention and energy. So I feel like it is kind of appropriate to say that like it is a relationship. Another reason why I wanted to take a break from social media was that I had found myself in a consumer cycle. I felt like I was always consuming the content and I was never creating. And I didn't like that for myself. It always made me feel like my cup was full, but it never made me feel fulfilled. It just felt like it was so much input, but there was never any outlet for it. And it kind of just felt like it clogged my brain. Like it kind of had like a fog over my brain of just so much new input without having any sort of creative output for it. I just felt so overwhelmed. So here's the thing about consuming, especially with short form content that we have right now, such as like TikToks, Reels, Shorts on YouTube, is I feel like it is very easy to get into this cycle of overconsumption, especially when scrolling is so much easier and less effort than creating. So I'm not trying to say that social media is bad and that I'm cured, or that I'm a better person because I was doing this, or that I was off social media, because I do believe that social media is amazing. There has never been so many of us so willing to share our stories and life journeys and experiences and reviews and opinions. I feel like it makes us feel connected and informed about all of our interests, which I think is great. But with that being said, I think we overindulge without knowing it. I certainly did. And now that I've limited myself and am practicing some self-control and restraint over the amount of time I allow myself on social media, I find that it's really great knowing that I've taken back control on what enters my mind. And it kind of just helps to sort of block and filter all the small bits of information that isn't really important in my life, such as what a classmate from high school is eating for lunch, or where a friend of a friend of a friend went on vacation, or how an old coworker's relationship is doing. I found myself freeing up my mind to focus more on myself and to really dive deeper into what I want to do physically and create physically. I've also been able to feel more confident and at peace, as I haven't been able to compare myself to my peers and just focus more on me. And I realized that I was just comparing the best of someone else's life to the worst of myself. And the setting didn't help with this either, as usually I was laying down in my dark room at 2 a.m. when the whole world is asleep. I also just feel like I felt kind of scared to post because I felt like I had so many eyes on me from people that were like acquaintances or like people that have just met once. And I was so worried about their perception of me and how they would perceive me if I posted certain things. I was worried that they would think that I was cringy. So it got to the point where I kind of let those thoughts limit myself from posting, where I did want to post cringy Reels and TikToks and YouTube Shorts. And where I did want to put myself out there by making these videos. But I didn't want to be judged, and I knew that I was allowing people's opinions of me to get in my own way, where I was thinking to myself and limiting myself by saying like, oh, like what if so and so from high school sees it and they think that I'm cringy. But it really did get to me. Like it just really felt like it was like a different form of like self-sabotage, where I kept thinking to myself, how would others perceive me if I was posting this and if they thought that I was cringe? And I kind of felt like my mind was telling me like, oh, you don't want to be cringe. You cannot be cringe. Like, don't post it. The last thing you want is people to think you're cringe. I just kind of like limited myself by like being like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I don't want to be considered cringe. But I'm kind of over that now. If some people think it's cringe, it's okay. Then this is definitely just not the content for them. But there are people out there where I think that they wouldn't mind seeing this content and they may feel the same way. And that is hopefully the people that I try to reach out to and that I hopefully connect with. In this world of like 7 billion people, there's no way that all 7 billion people will think that I'm cringe. When it's like, I don't think anyone knows who I am. Like no one cares about me right now. And it's like, that's okay. Like it's kind of weird, but that was really freeing. The thought of not having people care about what I posted was freeing. I remember feeling like emotions of jealousy towards people sharing their vacation, their travels, or their job promotions, or just how happy their relationship looks, or them moving up in life. And I would feel these emotions of jealousy, thinking to myself, not in a way where I wanted to bring them down, but in a way where it was like, dang, like, why isn't that me right now? It was more of the fact that it was a longing for myself to be like them, in the sense that I felt like I deserved that same happiness and that I was worthy of living in moments of bliss like them. But it felt like I wasn't able to yet. And it hurt more because of the fact that I knew I could be. And maybe even a part of me already felt like I should be already at that state. And I think it filled me with a little bit of fear that I was falling behind as compared to my peers. And it kind of felt like my mind was kind of just feeding that into me, just being like, oh, look at your peers. Your peers have wonderful jobs that they love to do, and they're always getting promotions, and they always get to travel. And it just made me feel like I was falling behind, and it was no fault of their own. Like, I cannot stress this enough. I am so happy for their accomplishments, and I am so happy for them to be able to do those things. But I can't lie that there is a piece of me that really felt like, dang, like, when am I gonna get that? Like, when is my turn? And I feel like that's just human nature, where like you see your peers, you compare yourself to them. And I just started to notice where it was like, oh, I feel a little behind, where it's like I don't really have an established career or field that I want to go in. I haven't started any successful businesses. I haven't even moved into like my own place. So it kind of just felt like I was stagnant as compared to my peers, who felt very much so ahead of me. And it just felt like my time hadn't come yet. And I think that was the part where I was like maybe being a little impatient with myself and not giving myself like the compassion and the patience to go at my own pace. And maybe my pace is a little slower than my peers, but that's okay. Like, my time will still come. And I think that was the part that social media kind of made me more anxious for, is the fact that it was a constant reminder every single day how far behind I was as compared to my peers. Which brings me to my next point, which, here's the thing. We all know that social media is fake, and that no one's life online is ever as perfect as it seems. However, there's still a piece of my mind that isn't able to recognize the difference. Like, it was so weird because I know what I was seeing was fake and it was designed to be perfect, and yet my mind couldn't tell the difference. So here's an example of this, is what I want to show. So here's a beautiful photo of me that my boyfriend took of me, and you could see there's a bunch of beautiful red flowers. But what if I showed you a zoomed out version of what our set actually looked like? This was our actual set that we used, and it looks like a desert dump. And it was just zoomed in onto those beautiful flowers in the back, and that was the only piece that I was going to show you, was just me and the beautiful flowers. I wasn't going to show you like the ground that I was in, or like the mustiness of the air. I just wanted to bring up this example just to show you that not everything online is as beautiful as it seems in reality. And this was definitely one of those instances where I feel like I was just always thinking that whatever my peers were posting, that was their reality that they live in every day, with beautiful hair, always done makeup, always going out to eat beautiful foods, and traveling the world everywhere. When in reality, that is just a glimpse into their life that they want to show us online. So here's another thing. So what's funny is I had such a huge fear of posting for people who didn't really care or know me personally. And I don't know why I let these people's opinions or perceptions of me get a front row seat into my brain when posting these things. I would always think that all these people would find me so cringy. However, I began to realize that I don't think they actually care, as I feel like I'm just a story they skip over, just spend 3 seconds looking at, then they just keep on scrolling to the next person and spend 3 seconds looking at their story. And to be completely honest with you, when I started first posting reels and transition videos on my old Instagram, I actually got people complimenting me in person. They were saying how good they were, and it was actually really sweet to have people compliment it, because I kept thinking to myself, everyone thinks it's cringe. And it made me feel good about myself, because I did put time and effort into making those silly little videos online. And it was also because I was in creator mode rather than consumer mode, where I was the one actually creating and putting content out there. So I think after posting, that was when I started realizing like I was giving people who didn't care about whatever I was posting front row seats into my audience show, when I should have been prioritizing myself in the front row and also the people around me who do compliment me and say, hey, like, that's really good, like, keep going. Those are the people that needed to get front row seats, not the people whose opinions would never reach my ears and would never say it in person to my face. When I did take a few months off of social media, I didn't announce it to anyone. I literally ghosted my whole platform and I just left it all. Like, I think I was sitting at around like 2,000 followers on Instagram, and TikTok I had none. Yeah. So that's where I left it off at. And at first you would think like, oh, a lot of people would reach out to you. Or like maybe you thought to yourself like, oh, no one would reach out to you. Like, who cares? Like, no one even noticed you were gone. And that's actually at first what I thought would happen, was that no one would notice that I was gone. And that would show that like no one cares. However, I was wrong actually. There were a few people who actually did speak to me in person and reached out to me over the phone asking if I was okay, because they had noticed that I was not posting anymore on social media and that it looked like I was a ghost on social media because I took off all my posts and deleted them. And it felt really good being able to know that there were a few people who actually did care enough to check up on me like that. And it was really nice having the people check up on me because I wasn't really sure if anyone would care or if anyone noticed. It just goes to show you that you do matter and that people do notice. I think that's what made me realize that those are the people that actually matter, and those are the people that actually care about me. And those are the people that I should give front row seats to when I am posting. So I think last tip that I wanted to mention is just don't be afraid to start over. Like, my previous account was stagnant at 2,000 followers, and I know that it could be scary starting over a whole new account, but here's the thing these days is that it would be much more beneficial to you if you had a community of people that actually really liked what you were posting, rather than holding on to these other followers that like may just know you from like everyday life or just seeing you at a glimpse. It is much more about like a whole community. And I feel like with my old account, like I did not feel that sense of community, where I didn't feel very connected with a lot of them because of the fact that I got so scared of their opinions, to the point where I feel like I kind of just got like really camera shy, where I was just like, I can't show up authentically as myself because I am way too nervous and scared of what this community would think of me. And I think that was the reason why I was like, you know what, let's just start over a whole new one, because that way we can just show up authentically as ourselves, post whatever we want, and whoever likes it can like it, and whoever doesn't like it cannot like it. And so that way there's no obligation between any of us of like being like, oh, I have to follow you because like we know each other from high school, or like, oh, I have to follow you because we took a class together, or like, oh, I have to follow you because you're my friend of a friend of a friend. And it's just like, might as well just start over a whole new one where there is no obligation and there's just me posting stuff, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. It has been a few months with me being broken up from social media. I'm actually back on social media, and I feel like it is such a whole like new and improved thing. Like, I wiped it all clean and I made like a whole new account. So I'll have links to all my socials down below, where I have Instagram, TikTok, and I'm also on YouTube, which you guys would know because you're watching this on YouTube. Yeah, that you guys can definitely check out. Yeah, so we are pretty much back together. So with that whole cleanse in mind and like what I had learned through my months of being off of social media, here's the thing about me being back on social media. Boundaries are key. Boundaries. I'm coming back and I am setting boundaries with my social media, because before I let it go free range all over in my head. So at first I was using social media without any restrictions. And I think the number one tip that I would have for you guys, if you guys do feel like drained from your social media, or if you feel like it is uncreative, here are my tips for that. Number 1, you need to set up your screen time. A lot of people don't know how much time they actually spend on these apps that are eating them away. And I know people who spend even more hours than that. And I think number 1 thing is to check your screen time. What is measured is managed. So if you don't know how much time you're spending on social media, you will not be able to manage it, to lower it, to get down to what it is that you want it to be. Make sure you know exactly how much time you're spending on these apps. That way you're able to minimize it down to a number that you're much more comfortable with. So with that in mind, number 2, set time limits. So with the screen time app, you can also set time limits. So now I limit it to 2 hours a day. I think number 3 is switching from a consumer mindset to being more of a creator mindset. And this isn't for everyone, because I know not everyone wants to be a creator, but at least just limiting how much you consume on it, and then just being more aware if you are consuming too much. Like, just know your limits for that. I think number 4 is definitely making sure that you have days where you do detox and you do step away from it. Like, go touch some grass, go do like a solo date outside. Like, make sure that you are still living your own life and not just living vicariously through everyone that you see online. I think number 5 is definitely to monitor who exactly you're following. Like, make sure you're only following people that like inspire you. Make sure you're following people that you actually know and that you actually align with. And I think number 6 would definitely be, don't be afraid to block people. Like, I feel like your online space should be safe for you. So if you don't feel safe with posting something because you think someone else might see it, that you don't get along with, or that you just don't want them to see, it's okay to block them, like, or just mute people that you can't really unfollow for any reason. I just feel like, just don't be afraid to prioritize yourself and your peace online. Your safety online is number 1, so make sure that you always just feel safe when you're online with whatever you're posting. If you don't feel comfortable with certain people, make sure that you deal with them accordingly, whether that's through the block button or the mute button, or just unfollowing them in general. Okay, so with all of that being said and out of the way, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for listening, and I would really love to hear what you guys have to say, and I would really love to hear if I missed any tips, or if there's any other suggestions that you guys would want to suggest in the comments below. Have you guys gone through a breakup with social media, or like, what is your relationship status with social media? Are you guys forever intertwined, or is it getting a little toxic? Who knows? I hope this video just kind of helped you to reevaluate your relationship with social media, and to kind of make you think if there's any other ways that you could improve your mental health by taking certain steps to limit your social media usage. And I hope that this really made you think and reevaluate your relationship with social media, and just maybe to see if you need to also take a little break from social media too. Don't get caught up too much in the online where you forget to live your actual life. And with all of that being said, that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.